Hello, my dear. Before we start, let me try that thing where we did it before.
Okay.
So I switched you to promote to a panelist, and then I put you back the other way.
All right.
There we go. And then, okay. Then make host. Yep. Now the host. Got a video.
Okay.
All right. And then I still back the host. Reclaim host. And now I can do video. You like my background?
Yeah, that's nice.
I'll get you one of them cool things. You can do it on the little video portion.
Yeah.
So how was your weekend?
It was good.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's fun.
Yeah, cool. Where were you, in town or were you?
No, we went to Traverse City.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
So
That was nice.
yeah, so we're live right now. So just for everybody's thing, Amy's had I'm very proud of her for even getting on this webinar.
Yeah.
Maybe. And a busy weekend like that. That is a tough thing. So, but I'm kind of excited about it. So I think we'll enjoy it. I think, doing the research for this one, it's very interesting. So I think it's going to be an eye opener for a lot of people. Way to come into basically digestive health. Because right now, if I can feel, I always say I look at like patients, like how we're approaching it. So we know, okay, we got to do gut bacteria things. We got to eat better, those kind of things. So this gives you, and it sounds good in theory, but tonight will be kind of about a plan, like a plan of how to do it and a little more knowledge on that. On what these digestive herbs that I've been learning about can really do for us. So hopefully tonight will be a really good one. And I promise you, I will try to keep it short. But this one's going to be tough because there's quite a bit in there. So I'm going to try to get through what we got to do, and then open it up for kind of like questions, because I'm almost guaranteeing there's going to be. So
okay.
So let's get started. All right. So screen share. Oops. All right. Let's start our slideshow. Oh, get that out of the way. Okay. So nature needs no help, just no interference. And we're going to take our digestive herb journey down this exact pathway. So that you don't feel overwhelmed when we do this. Many times this can kind of mess you up if we think medically, and we'll talk about that as we go. If we think the medical paradigm of sickness care, we really don't want to do that in herbal, right? Or in any kind of like natural healing or holistic. Because a lot of times we'll get a good example is my stomach hurts, so I'm going to take probiotics, right? We should always kind of think if we want to start living holistically, we got to start with the end in mind. Like where we want good gut health, and a stomach ache tells us, okay, we're not where we need to be as far as our stomach, obviously, because it would show up. So that's kind of where the digestive herbs come into, and I think you're going to love this one. So we're going to explore the digestive herbs, but from an innate intelligence perspective, what foundations we need to do before we implement those digestive herbs. And then what are the classes? That's kind of the cool part, is a lot of people will really appreciate these, because it's one of those where once you hear it, you're like, I knew that, like inherently we know this, because some of us are old enough to remember 5-course meals, 4-course meals, and the reasoning behind those. Or, you had parents that were from Italy, or, just different traditions like that. And so, of course, how we implement it. So let's get the groundwork laid. You must always think in mind of, like, with innate intelligence, we have to remove interferences that get in the way of our innate nervous system's digestive abilities. So did you know that there are more neurons? I just heard that today, though, and more neurons in your gut than there is in your heart.
Yep.
That's insane to me. Like, it has its own working, functioning nervous system. So your job is to make it you're not to fix anything, because the gut will do that for you. If that many neurons are there, what that tells you is the communication's there, ready to go, right? We just have to not interfere with that communication, so it can do its job, right? So the first kind of groundwork laying, and most of us kind of hit this area and then we don't know where to go from here. So one of the best things is, obviously, you start eating clean. My favorites are, let's say, a thing called the GAPS diet, which we'll talk about a little bit, or the paleo, something that's clean: meat, vegetables, not a lot of processed things, right? So things that have chemicals in them is a little harder to get around that. So that's how you kind of set your baseline. We're not looking for, we're not and this is a whole different process than creating a, like how to eat better, right? In the sense of patterning and all those kind of things. But this eating clean is a very critical first step, because that'll help you understand and get the benefits out of those digestive herbs. Understand and learn about good gut bacteria. So it's a huge topic. One that, to be honest with you, I think most of us can be almost to that point of, as far as medicine's gotten, because it's just such an understudied situation. So as we advance in our knowledge, we will be on the ride if we're paying attention. And this is one of those ones that you should be all in understanding these. There's several different kinds of gut bacteria, ones that get killed off quicker, ones that we can replace, actually. A lot of times people, a lot of people don't believe me on this, but many times, if the gluten or dairy allergy is not so ingrained, it's like you can actually bring those back. And so that's a pretty cool process. However, it is one of those where you just don't know, if, it's hard to take a chiropractor's word for that, like as it goes. But if your innate intelligence is able to do the things it needs to do, you will start replacing that gut bacteria. Weirdly, getting adequate sleep is a critical step in this. Most of the Chinese medicine energies, and they do a lot of things with different, like, feng shui. I wish I could say the yin and the yang, right? And they've understood for thousands of years that your digestive system runs really good at night. It runs these digestions. A lot of times, one of the doctor signs, even, let's say you wake up with pain, like in your shoulder blades, and you didn't do anything the day before, but you kind of randomly wake up between 1 and 3 in the morning, 1 to 3 a.m. High possibility that's a liver or gallbladder problem that's showing up, that's referring to the area of your back. The reason that happens is because that's when the liver and gallbladder are at its active, time frame. So getting adequate sleep is a must in understanding how to digest things, and if you remember, there's two kind of nervous systems that puts us in ready to go situations. You have this thing called fight or flight, and these are autonomic nervous systems. So these are kind of like you don't have control over them, but they because of the reflexes, you have one or the other fired, right? So you have, fight or flight, which is your sympathetic nervous system, and you have parasympathetic, which is your rest and digest. So understanding and getting that good night's sleep that's, unencumbered can keep that thing going in that parasympathetic. Okay. And then the other one that's kind of big is the same thing. The reason the parasympathetic is so important is make time to enjoy eating, right? Take time to enjoy eating, whatever that is for you. Most of us are watching an action flick while we're eating dinner, right? Or that elevates your heart rate. That elevates your heart rate is a major piece to not being able to digest properly. So why are family dinner so important? Because one is the community, one is the fun conversation, one is that you're sitting and you're enjoying the eating process, because the eating process is just not just throwing something in your mouth and it goes down to your gut. Everything has to work, and it's like all the way from the saliva to the smells, everything. So those are all pieces to getting everything ready. Okay, so now that we've kind of laid the groundwork, we're going to go into every single category these are just digestive herbs. So do you have any questions, Amy? We good?
No questions yet.
That's pretty basic stuff in the sense of if you do, but the problem is like before, if we don't lay that groundwork, a lot of these herbs aren't going to give you the benefit you think, right? Mm-hmm. So many, if I give these out, that's one reason why it's so tough, because you go, okay, well, if I could just tell a patient to do these, but they're drinking 3 Mountain Dews and, having 6 fast food meals a day, you're not going to get a benefit from it. And so that's one of the hardest parts of introducing, like these herbs that could really help you. So antimicrobials. So they're basically your body's antibiotics, right? So these are actual things that give you good protection against the bad bugs that could enter your gut or bacteria and anything. By the way, if you missed tonight's thing, this is the first time, I'm so proud of myself. I'm writing an article because I see Amy struggling to see what I put out. Is it that really small? Little? It's so little. Dang it. I'm sorry. I know.
No, it's okay.
Are you on a phone? Is that
why?
Oh, crap. I should have done it. But
no, it's okay.
I wrote an entire article that I'm going to release like Wednesday.
Oh, good.
On the Substack. So it's this exact stuff, but more detailed. So that'll be cool. But
would you consider these to be like prebiotics?
Not really. These have a whole different function in that sense. They could be, because really prebiotics. So prebiotics is essentially setting your gut up for those probiotics to get in, right?
Yeah.
And a lot of times what happens in probiotic situation is they're a living bacteria. And so they need food, right? And so a lot of these little fibers are what prebiotics essentially are. And so most things, it's hard to have a processed thing to have prebiotics in it. So when you see that, that's good. You know, like if you have a bar that says, hey, it's got prebiotics, that's awesome, because typically all of your good foods, it's natural, like have prebiotic in it. So you eat a salad, it's prebiotic, right? Okay. So because it has the stuff that keeps your probiotics active. So antimicrobials have a whole different ball game. They're going in and trying to actually help your good bacteria, right? You used to have the good guys and the bad guys. The good guys stay in on top, where the bad bacteria get wiped out. So, and a lot of what you call the culinary herbs are awesome antimicrobial. And so like what we talked about the other day with lung ones, as long as they're not like 10, 12 years old in your stuff, a lot of your really good herbs that you use for cooking will have some like antimicrobial benefit to them.
Yeah.
So by spicing your food, you're adding that, right? So it's really good. And there's this it's kind of creates hyaluronic acid reflux. It's called Helicobacter pylori. I just put that in there. It's people say they have that condition. Many times these type of herbs will help you a ton in that situation. So the major ones that are really studied are below. You have garlic, onions, ginger, and turmeric. Okay. All of them can be used as a supplement as well, right? So you have not as much onions, but everything else is a really good supplement that you could do. Not only could you cook for it, you could actually supplement as well. One of my biggest ones that I love recommending is somebody's going in for surgery. I will recommend they take garlic for like 3 to 4 weeks prior to. It helps because so much of your immune system's in your gut. If you have good antimicrobials and good strong stuff, you just have the antimicrobial down there, and then it helps that immune system. So the other one, it's kind of an interesting, probably off topic, but we'll go back to it. You want your stomach acid to be correct. Okay. So stomach acid, if you remember how the acidity works, you want to stay at a certain level. One of our biggest chronic problems right now in society is that we do these things called protein pump inhibitors. That the protein pump inhibitor itself isn't a problem until we overuse it. So, some people have been on 5 to 10 years of these things. And so what it's done is made our stomach not acidic, but more basic. And so that leads you to a crap ton of microbes that can start festering around. And so that is one of the big things in just trying to balance all these microbes out. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
How do you know your stomach acid level?
There's good question. I don't know the easiest way to answer that. Good one. Ooh. After this, let's come back to that. I'll have you look it up. Look it up on the side.
You can add it when you add these to the page later or whatever.
Yeah, because I'm not sure the best way to go about that. Probably. That's a good one, because that would be super helpful. Yeah. Yes, that would be a really good one. The next one is called an antispasmodic. Okay, so spasms are what you think, right? So it's a spasm of the colon or the gut. There's lots of different ways this can present itself. Kids, big source of stomach pains. Most of the time, your gut is, you have your gut is, most of those stomach pains a kid has is possibly an overactive bowel or a stomach actual pain. A lot of these have a lot of different conditions, to be honest with you, or reasons why they occur. You can have, the stressed out kid. You can have horrible gut bacteria that are causing the problem. You can have the stressed out adult, right? So lots of things can cause the spastic colon to occur. And these are some great thoughts as you go. So our thoughts of herbs. Now, a couple of them we're going to talk about. You probably need more help, like coming to an herbalist or chiropractic or something. But so our first one is like an anxiety type stomach problem. Hops or valerian root would be a really good option. Okay. These are just the top two. There's several that, I could give you, but these are like some of them, right?
These are supplements.
You can do it as a supplement, as a tea, whatever you'd like to do. I can't wait to tell them about your experience with one of them down here. So, because that's pretty cool with children. But a spastic colon and IT, irritable bowel, all those kind of things. Wild yam could be a really good supplement. Typically that one is really good to work with an herbalist or chiropractor to do stuff just to get the situation correct, and that'll be good. One that's if that one, all of these will work for spastic colon, so understand that. So hops and valerian. If you want to try like the first time, you want to go super gentle, which always is a good idea. Is to start is for kids and elderly is chamomile. Chamomile will help a ton, right? Elderly get away from this one, and it could be one of their best moves ever. Chamomile tea, the stomach things because the amount of medications, you start getting into the 60, 70, 80, year old marks, they have a lot of medications they're taking and makes it hard to digest things. Adding a chamomile tea can help that, right? So it can help us kind of re-engage that digestive tract. And one of my favorites that we all kind of know why, kept getting it at the restaurant every time, but you got this little, it's not really, back then it was actual peppermint instead of just the candy, but the idea of peppermint, right? So peppermint after a meal calms the stomach, allows that other digestion to happen. All right. That one's always cool. These are awesome. I love learning about these, and we'll show you how to implement them as well. Anti-inflammatories. Anti-inflammatories is a big deal. It always has been. You anti-inflammatory with if you're experiencing anti-inflammatory or your inflammation of the joints, you have guaranteed inflammation of your gut. That's automatic, right? But because they all work together. The other thing is always remember this. If you have inflammation of your joints that everybody talks about, right? And now we know you have inflammation of the gut. So all these inflammatory cells are floating around, not doing the job of, let's say, fighting the flu for you. So what happens? You're chronically sick. And that's really what happens with a lot of my anti-inflammatory situation or my inflammation people, like where they have over the top inflammation processes. One way to start a good base for yourself is make your gut get as anti-inflammatory as it can. Turmeric and ginger come up again. You'll see a lot of my herb stuff. You can't really go wrong with a few of these. And guess the magic one, chamomile. Chamomile will show up and show up and show up. We forget about it when give it to them when they're babies, and then we stop doing it, and we should be doing it all the time. Organic teas in general, just any of them, right? Any kind of tea, because of the materials that are in the tea, other than just whatever the tea is for a benefit, because those plants, all plants have all kinds of benefits to them, right? And so in the article, we go into a little bit of in organic tea, it's the parts and the pieces of the plant that can help you reduce the inflammation a little bit. And of course, again, we can, if we start cooking with spices, making that house smell delicious, anti-inflammatory comes with the package as well. All right, this is where it gets fun. I get to learn some new words. This one is called carminatives. Why I remember this one all the time and the thousands of different herbs, I don't know, but it makes me laugh, so I don't know why. This is the one that helps get rid of excess gas. Okay. So it not only can be uncomfortable, which we hear about all the time, but it actually can inhibit because of the pressure. So it can actually put pressure in there, causing us not to digest correctly. So it's a big deal if somebody's like having actual like uncomfortable gas problems. They're just, it's not, it is funny because I'm a dude. That's kind of funny. But at the same time, it can be a massive problem. And so it's one of those where these can be extremely beneficial for people, as they go forward. So, and again, something simple that we actually do. So fennel is an interesting one. Some cultures actually eat candied fennel after a meal every time. Yeah. So candied fennel, I'd really like to try that actually.
I think, does it taste like black licorice?
I'm not sure. I'm actually there's two things on here. We'll get to them both that we're almost to the other one, but there's two things I am going to try in the next thing because I've never done it, like in candied fennel is one of them. Dill is always awesome. That's one reason why you used to get a dill pickle for each meal. It was to help with the gas, actually. So isn't that funny? Yeah. And guess who's back is peppermint. Peppermint decided to come back again. Cinnamon's the other one. A lot of different opportunities to take that gas down, which is a big one. So the only one on this, okay, so you can't go crazy into carminatives. And I gave you some dull ones in a sense. And a lot of times they'd want you to stick to tea because if you have that really bad GERD, the esophageal reflux, sometimes this can cause a problem or make you super uncomfortable. So before you say, all right, I got gas and GERD or esophageal reflux real bad, probably talk before you because you got to get that acid right. And if you got esophageal reflux really bad, you could be super basic, right? So like what we talked about before. So we got to get that stuff down prior to that all happening. So that is a carminative. So that's a cool name. This is my other favorite. This is where once you understand some of this stuff, it really changes your way of eating, to be honest with you. It already has for me. So the choleretics and cholagogues. So what these are is a really fancy way to talk about one's herbs that help with your liver and gallbladder in producing bile. Bile is super important. Why? Do you know why, Amy?
Breaks down something?
Yeah, it breaks down two things. The first it breaks down is your waste products. So whatever goes through your system and your body considers like a waste product, it will break that down to be so your immune system doesn't freak out, right? So it breaks it down to that part. The other one is it breaks fats down. Okay, so that's why the liver and gallbladder have a major problem. Good fats, always a good thing. Easy on the gallbladder and liver. Trans fats, you start having issues, right? You start having immune system things. You have, like those type of situations. That's why we have so many gallbladder issues. Typically, one classic is you had to get to hear about a gallbladder attack is you are at a baseball game and you have a hot dog and a beer. Both of them increase the amount of pressure of fats, like bad fats, trans fats, and the beer and all that, will add to that. And that's why gout kind of starts showing up, or a gallbladder attack is another way. So gallbladder attacks, fried food, those kind of things. So, but super unappreciative of this section when we eat every day, right? So we don't think about these things and which I wouldn't expect anybody to, but starting to add these things into your life could be a game changer in your digestive health, because this is usually in my standard American diet, liver and gallbladder are the ones that sneak up on everybody and we have issues, right? So the ones that you can consider: ginger, coriander, cumin, turmeric, chili, and peppercorn, all spices.
Yeah.
Just learn recipes that have that in it, right? You don't have to like necessarily start taking supplements on that.
Yeah.
But one of the best scientifically awesome powerhouses of many things is artichoke leaf.
No kidding. Artichoke?
Yeah, I know. That's why I supplement that one probably.
Yeah.
I enjoy artichoke, but artichoke is got so many data points on it for not only this cholinergic cholagogue system, but also in reducing people's cholesterol. So like it's pretty cool. What'd you say?
I said I prefer it mixed with lots of cheese and spinach in a dip.
Exactly. That's the hardest part. It's like, man,
yeah,
that way is delicious. I don't know if it counts. I'm not sure. Probably not, but artichoke leaf as a supplement can be a game changer for people. All right. This is the one I was telling you about. Bitters.
Oh, yeah.
Amy and I have talked about this one. What'd you say?
Did you ever try it?
Not yet. This is the one I want to do at some point. I just got to remember to go get it at the liquor store. I really want to try the Italian way. So anyway, so these are bitters are something that kind of sets the stage basically for your digestive. So what happens a lot of times is, and you don't have to do it in front of every meal, but let's say you have a bigger meal throughout the day. That meal, if you set it up where these bitters actually start the entire digestive process. So the idea is you want your saliva working, you want all the membranes of everything kind of ready for this food. The more ready we are, the better off we'll do, right? So better off we'll do with the digestive process. So many times I'll tell people like, figure out, and I haven't gone to the store, and we'll come back to that, probably make an article on it or something. But there's in Italy, in a lot of different places, you'll start with a little shot of what they call bitters. And a lot of them will have some of this stuff in there, right? So it's alcohol with some of these different these plants in there that start it. And then you have this really good meal and you're able to digest it really well. So that's pretty cool. But you can kind of see how once you start looking at this whole thing, how it could start getting a little like, whoa, we got a lot we could do for our digestive health on our own before we even have to hit anything major, right? So on this one, dandelion, Oregon grapefruit, chamomile, devil's claw, and artichoke leaf. So these are all different ones. You can see how it's kind of fascinating in my nerd world. Like I took the actions of plants that are pretty common, and you would not believe chamomile. Like it's one of the powerhouses over any kind of herb that we'll see and that we'll talk about. It just keeps showing up. So especially in this area. And so most things that are good for one part of the gut typically will have some other benefit. And that's kind of a really cool thing about, herbal medicine in our world that we live in currently. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
And all right. So this one in our 1%, what I'd like to think that we could do is kind of break our food down, like a kind of in our brain, have a plan for one meal, maybe even throughout the week, right? I don't want to overwhelm you with every night we got to do this, right? So, well, maybe pick a night in the week that you're going to do this. You're going to cook with the spices we showed up there. We're going to maybe start with a bitter before the meal, right? I'm thinking this Friday night, we would probably try a little bitter and then maybe some steak with a little peppercorns on it. Like there are a lot of those kind of things. Maybe finish with a nice chamomile tea, have a peppermint type dessert, right? And you could do those kind of things, right? And I want to see what that leads us to, because as you do that and kind of just walk through like what you want to try, And most of you that are on this are on my email list. So you'll get the article that's coming out Wednesday as well. So if we went a little too fast where you couldn't do, keep up, that's okay. But just cooking culinarily gives you like 3 different benefits, right? So just spicing up your food will get you there, right? And so that's where, like thyme was on 2 different ones, right? So use those spices, cook something delicious for somebody, and you will start adding that to your day. Typically, my people that have these different irritable bowel and those kind of things, they get to the point where even your palate changes, right? Because one of the hardest parts of the gut bacteria is that we don't understand how sneaky it is. So once we have this crappy gut bacteria, our brain starts to change because there's this mind-gut connection. Once you have that mind-gut connection changed, your appetite changes, your everything changes, the taste buds change, right? So, one thing we ran into one time was I had some friends that were more big into drinking, smoking, those kind of things. No big deal. It was just their way of life, basically. And it was fascinating because like I would tell them my favorite food, right? High end restaurant that's like spiced perfectly in Battle Creek. Kitchen Proper is like my favorite, I just love how they do those things. And they were like, local bar food was just fine with them. Why? Because their gut is off, right? Yeah. There's not that appreciation for that. And what occurs a lot of times is you get to understand, like, you get that depth of flavor starts to come back because there's this mind-body connection. So a lot of times that can be super helpful in like how you enjoy your world and all the surroundings. And that's why I love this topic on the digestive herb one. But yeah, so that is basically it. Let me see. And then of course, if you're not a subscriber yet, Tribe One at it's .substack.com. I found out, so I'll have to switch that. So, and all you got to do is if you put your email in there, you'll get a shout out for the Zoom that we do every Sunday night. So awesome.
Okay, so explain the difference between like bitters, dandelion, any of those things, or like if you were to do bitters compared to digestive enzymes before you eat. What's the difference?
So digestive enzymes are basically you giving your body what your body wants to produce, right? So digestive enzymes are basically taking it out of innate's hands. Does that make sense? And saying, all right, I'm taking the digestive enzymes track. You don't have to do it anymore. Okay. So a bitter introduces your gut to say, hey, you need to get them freaking digestive enzymes rolling so that it's ready to roll. I don't got time for this. And by the way, I started having to take digestive enzymes because you weren't getting your crap done before I got there. So remember, all of it connects. So good example. It happened, what was it? Rachel. Oh no, I made steak yesterday. So we put steak in the thing, we're broiling it, and we put it spiced up good because they could tell when you start smelling that, you start the digestive process, right? So digestive enzymes should start initiating at that point. And so what happens is some people, and you feel so much, the reason people supplement with that digestive enzymes is because they feel so good when they eat correctly and get it started, right? Problem is you're taking one of those, so it's not really an innate thing. However, is it bad? It's just like one of those things where I could go without it, or that kind of thing. I really push people not to do something like that. If now at the beginning, maybe that's a better way than like a medicine where it's like that, but that's a good question. But yeah, I would start with a bitter. Try to find something that gets it kick started prior to.
Yeah. And then for the carminatives, is excess gas just fermented food in your body, in your digestive tract?
It's kind of have it. Yeah. Well, sort of. It's the digestion is happening, and then it's got a side effect of the gas, right? So it's like doesn't have to be totally like fermented or like just sitting there type stuff. What happens is that the body is doing a good job of breaking it down. When you break it down, you're breaking it out in a liquid form. You're into gases, right? So it's just like I tell people like methane, right? So you could bury it in the ground. The reason it smells is because it's breaking up into gas and all those kind of things. So that's why.
If you had like peppermint tea, like right after you eat, there's a less chance you're going to have excess gas.
Right. Exactly. Yep. And a lot of times I'll tell people if they're having that, maybe start, the bitters might help you anyway. Right.
Yeah.
But sometimes you might have to start with a peppermint to get that kind of
get it going,
the linings and stuff.
I've never chewed on like an actual peppermint leaf. Have you?
No, I haven't either. There's a lot of journey we're all going to be doing together in this. That's what I love, because
a lot of people grow their own herbs, and you could totally have a peppermint plant, in your kitchen. And I wonder if you just chewed on a leaf.
I believe
what that would do.
Yeah, I do.
I'd like to try that.
I'd like to figure out some recipes for some really good stuff.
Well, if you Google like recipes with turmeric in it,
Yeah.
Or Google, what do I cook with turmeric? A bunch of stuff would come up.
Would it? Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Let me look.
Okay.
I'm gonna look real quick because
I
want to see let's see, because turmeric and all that. I want to see good natural to eat. That the peppermint question is really good question. So a lot of it's teas.
Yeah. And there are teas with turmeric in it and ginger.
Yeah, like a fresh, like mint and ice cubes. That's not a bad.
Oh yeah, putting peppermint in your water, peppermint leaves in your water. That'd be smart.
Yep. Yeah, I like that. Creating a pesto out of it.
Ooh.
That's interesting.
You can make pesto out of a lot of different herbs.
Uh-huh.
Yum.
That would be good. Now, the good thing about peppermint too is it helps coating. So like if somebody has like a stomach problem that's major, that they just can't eat hardly crap, peppermint is really good because it kind of like lines the stuff. So a lot of times you'll even do a peppermint supplement, in that sense. But we definitely have some more journey to go on that, because those are all freaking fantastic questions. I'm really interested in the bitter part, because
I want to try that too. Do you think that as far as supplements go, instead of people using like fresh herbs or what do you think between dried or fresh herbs? Like, is fresh herbs better?
Doesn't matter. So a lot of times, of course, the fresher the better, that kind of thing. But the problem is like how fresh is like a Michigan place, and I tell you to get peppercorns, right? So a lot of times you get what you can, and make sure it's the biggest thing that I came up with was just make sure it's not the stuff that's been sitting in your thing for 10 years, right?
In your spice rack for 10 years, it's got dust on the lid nobody's ever opened.
Exactly. Now I've had a trick where you can do this. I learned this from a chef, where you take that and you crush it, and as you're putting it on. Yeah. That's one way the chefs get away with it, because it kind of activates the stuff. You're not getting a lot out of that. Right. The fresh herb is absolutely the way to go most of the time, I would guess. That kind of thing. But
okay, so if you're gonna cook some meals and stuff, and you're gonna try to add fresh herbs and teas, before, after, during, whatever, do you think that until you spend some time trying to get your gut right by eating clean and getting sleep and, trying to fix your gut bacteria stuff, do you think that on average, a person would like digest or absorb, I guess, a supplement over if your guts are kind of messed up?
They would digest it. The problem is like, and it would be somewhat of a benefit. The problem is you wouldn't see the great effect, right? Yeah. So because you're starting in this like big mess, right? And then instead of having this balance where it's almost immediate, like good example, and we'll talk about them in future ones, but like a couple of the mushroom teas, like, so the first time I started becoming like a tea drinker, Jeremy and this tea drinker, like we go play cards and my buddies were making fun of me because I'm bringing tea, right? Instead of like beer. But when that tea drinking, but I felt so good. It was like you could feel it because at the time, and it could go up and down. It's like I'm not like some kind of special guy. It takes some work to do this, like fermented foods, which we'll talk about again. Yeah. Man, I tried that. I made a relish, Amy.
Another one.
It's good.
Is it as good as your sauerkraut?
Yeah. Sauerkraut's it's up there. It's
so
good.
Are pickled vegetables or pickled anything, onions, beets, whatever, pickled stuff, is that the same as fermented?
No. Oh. So can be, depends on how it's pickled.
Oh.
So as fermentation so hard to get as a commercially thing, we went to vinegar and canning, right? Yeah. To preserve. So what happened is we took away the fermentation process from it. However, there's still dill in there. There's still a lot of those things. And of course, vinegar is not bad either. So a lot of those cool things, even if you're not good at the, the fermentation process of like sauerkraut, that's why it's such a mastery, like, and I mean, the one lady we were talking about, it's called Fermentation School, I think. Yeah. Fermentation School. I'll put it up sometime, but she's friggin' awesome. It's like $30 and you get like 3 or 4 different, like she walks you through doing it. But once you do it, it's fun to make your own stuff too. Like see how it goes. And, pickles have been my bane of my existence for a while. And I think I just figured out not very long, which is weird. And then you put them in the fridge and stop their fermentation process. Right. So once I learned how to do that, life was much different. Like, cause then now all these they didn't get the sauerkraut where it's so like soggy. You're like, yeah, I love it, kind of thing. But now you can have some crispy and crunchy and, those kind of things. So,
it's much more enjoyable that way.
Yeah.
Okay. My other question is like in each of these categories, how much should you eat of all of these like herbs, spices, teas, whatever?
Good question.
Noticing a difference, like
very good question. So I would say the first is to listen to your innate intelligence, right? Listen to what is the problems, right? At first, I would say, okay, I'm not curing any of this stuff, but I got this horrible gas every time afterwards, right? So you're going, okay, maybe I'm heavy on the carminatives, right? And then, or I've had this gallbladder attack 17 times, like eating out with friends or drinking or whatever. Let's do these choleretics or cholagogues to do that. So I would scale it that way, right? Gotcha. And then using the bitters, the antimicrobials, the anti-inflammatories is like, all right, those are my culinary pieces. Yeah. So, you kind of start going, okay, maybe I need some supplements on those other, whatever the major is.
Yeah.
And then kind of the other ones kind of work them in, right?
Okay.
We're all about in our tribe where we'll be is we're listening to that body tell us what they want, right? And so that's the beauty of, just can't wait. It's gonna be good.
Yeah.
And this one is so cool because it's like with you guys, you and Jess right now, probably some people on Facebook, but to go through this learning process together will be so worth it. Like, so those that are out there, if you hear this recording later too, I want to hear from if you've tried any of these things, right? So making a dish that has a lot of these in there could be a good thing, right?
Yeah.
So,
I'll see if I can find a couple, like maybe 5 recipes or something, and we can put them on the Substack.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
That have these stuff
kind
in
of
them.
Fun stuff, right? So yeah, simple stuff. I'm really interested in like how do we get the peppermint in there without being like a peppermint candy, basically. Because I know it's out there, and I'm gonna look that up. There's some holistic places to go. You can do some tinctures that way too. So that's right. So you can do like a little tincture under your tongue, which is kind of fun, but it's not as fun as like a peppermint like dessert of some sort. That's what I keep thinking. Like there's got to be something you could like honey and peppermint. I don't know. It'd be interesting. So something really good and natural like that would be fun. So we're on a mission.
Yep. Okay. Cool.
Jess, you have any questions for us? Oh yeah.
I don't think so. I mean, there's a lot of new terms this time. So in some regards, yes, but not yet because I'm still processing.
Yeah. So that's this journey, and that's why I wanted you to any questions, just email anything back. I think the Substack even you could like directly email me back, right? Or email me a question. I think that's in there. So that would be sweet too, in regards to whatever topic, because this one's going to be big. We're going to cover it a few times, guaranteed, like as we go. But it's kind of cool how the nature breaks down every process. And, what blows my mind about this whole thing is nature already thought of all this. The stuff we exactly have problems with, it's already out there. And it's been the entire time. And that, as you go, I think that's part of the herb thing that just blows my mind. How do you create a plant that is good for the gallbladder and liver? Like, think about that. Like, that blows my freaking, like, when I started going in this world, it was like, holy crap. So nature around us that we don't pay attention to, we just drive to work, come back, don't even pay attention, go, oh, look at the pretty flowers. And then all of a sudden, the stuff in your backyard, dandelion is one of the best gallbladder detoxes teas you could possibly have. And then instead of doing something like that, we just do, here's the medication, then let's get your gallbladder out. Those are the, like, in weeks apart from each other, And so to me, I think that is why I will continue to study this, and then why our journey tonight just started with the digestive herbs, because we're going to get some bitters in us. Hopefully it's not too tasty. I don't want to get too hammered before. There's some good alcohols out there.
I don't think it's going to be. And then
it's not supposed to be.
It's not. I tried it when you suggested it last time. It's not very tasty.
That's what I thought. I have this Italian patient. Amy knows her pretty well. So Tammy should be on here, actually. That's who it is, right?
Yeah.
And she is Italian, and they go in and they have to have the shot before they start the day. And then they do their awesome family, meal. One reason I believe they can do so much of their gluten-y pastas, maybe because they set up their digestive tract to be able to do it, right?
I think they use a lot of fennel to cleanse your palate in between courses too. Yeah,
exactly. So those, think of that as we go. We got to think, all right, we're the high-end meal. We're worth it. We don't have to pay $200 a plate. We can actually do this at our house, right?
Yeah.
And because it's not because, like, oh, we don't think we're worthy or anything. It's just there's no time, right? And no understanding of how to do this. Like,
takes a lot of extra work.
Yeah. I tell people all the time, it's like Rachel and I went from, starting to practice, doing all this stuff, where the pizza guy is my number one guy that knows me all the time. And all of a sudden I got 2 kids and I'm going, okay, I should probably do something a little healthier than that. Right.
Yeah.
So all of a sudden, and now you're going from 2 to 4, right? In New York minute, you're supposed to try to cook all that, right?
Yeah.
That's the problem. Right. And then we all get into it and then it just becomes a pattern.
Yep.
And we keep rolling on that. So
it's just like anything else new you try to introduce into your life, eating clean and everything else, it just becomes a part of the habit and things that you learn how to do. And, you know, you'll have a basil plant, oregano plant, whatever, and you'll know what you can put that in that tastes good to you. And it happens over time, but it's just like anything else. You got to create the habit of trying, you know,
I love that the food tastes so much better anyway.
Yeah.
This isn't a hard like jump except for that, right? So it's like, I mean, Jess, did you feel better when you took the bitter? Did you notice anything that night for meal? This is just curious.
No, because I've only done it like twice, so I need to add some consistency into it. And it wasn't coming out of the bottle easily. And I was also thinking, like, how much of this am I supposed to take? And I was a bit unprepared. So I don't know yet.
It's going to be at some point, I'm predicting a 1% tribe conference at my party barn. We're going to have meals that have all of this in there. That'll be part of it. Right. And we might make them all. I don't know. We'll figure out all that stuff, you know, as we go. But that's one reason I want to do this is kind of get us prepared and go, okay, what can we do there? Right. Yeah. So cool. You guys got any other questions for me? This one could have been like 2 hours, though. Easy. There is a lot there. Yeah. So we'll reintroduce, but don't forget questions later. Even on like next week's Zoom, even though it's probably not going to be the topic, go back to it because I would like to know, you know, like I would like to get the answers to those questions as well. So, okay.
All right.
Thank you again, Jess. You rock. Enjoy your night.
Thanks, y'all too. See ya.
Bye, Jess.